This is the Mi 11 Ultra. This is the phone that I've been using for quite some time right now, and this is going to be a really long video. And we're going to share with you our experience using the Mi 11 alongside with some other comparisons in this whole long video here. And without further ado, let's begin. Alright, this review is still gonna follow our usual 6 points of a smartphone, and we're gonna mix some elements into it, so it's not gonna be as straightforward as just those 6 points. And we'll start off with the biggest feature of the Mi 11 Ultra, and of course I'm speaking of the cameras. Now, I won't talk much about the camera specs, so I'll just show you everything right here. And of course, the pictures coming out of the Mi 11 Ultra is actually quite good. I did have fun taking pictures with all of the 3 cameras available on the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. I don't have much complaint if I'm only using the Mi 11 Ultra on its own. And one thing that I want to highlight here is the color consistency between all of the 3 cameras. Between the main and the ultra-wide-angle camera, they are both pretty consistent, but once it goes to the 5x optical zoom camera, the white balance turns a little bit bluish. But nothing a little software update can't fix, right? And at 5x optical zoom, the pictures actually look fairly good. And I mean, since it's a telephoto camera with a lens of 5x optical zoom anyway, it should look good. And with that said, anything in between 1x to 5x zoom will be digital zoom, and that is where my complaints start. Now, in this picture right here, these rooftops at 3x zoom, you can see that the details are gone, and that is to be expected because it is, once again, digital zoom. So let's proceed to 10x digital zoom. And you can see here the picture starts to look quite bad. All the details are gone, and when we jump up to 100x zoom, the picture is barely recognizable. And I don't know why Xiaomi thought it would be a good idea to slap on the word 120x zoom on the Mi 11 Ultra here, because it's totally a gimmick, a useless gimmick at that, because it just makes the already horrible picture look larger. And if we are comparing it with the Galaxy S21 Ultra right here, the other Ultra smartphone from the year 2021, things get a little interesting because the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra has an even wider ultra-wide-angle lens, but it loses details and the colors become a lot flatter compared to the Galaxy S21 Ultra, which manages to retain most of the details and also fixed up the distortion really nicely. And then comes the main cameras. I would say dynamic range wise, Galaxy S21 Ultra is obviously much better because the dark parts is lit up a lot better compared to the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. And then now comes the zoom comparisons. Again, these two phones have crazy zoom in them. So the Samsung one, they have 2 different zoom cameras. One of them is at 3x optical zoom, and the other one is at 10x optical zoom with its periscope lens. Now, the Galaxy S21 Ultra wins in both 3x and 10x zoom because again, it is optical instead of digital. But the Xiaomi Mi 11 does do a pretty good job when it comes to cleaning up the image when it comes to those further zoom kind of text images. At 3x zoom, the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra definitely wins because it has optical zoom, and then at 5x zoom, the Mi 11 Ultra wins instead because it has optical zoom, and then back and forth, the S21 Ultra with its 10x optical zoom obviously looks better than the Mi 11 Ultra. And then when you go all the way to 100x zoom on both of these phones, honestly, they both look kind of bad. The text on both of these phones, the picture that I took here, they are semi-readable, but again, I still don't understand why Xiaomi wants to give us the option to make this horrible image look even larger. And then we also did a few more side-by-side comparisons, a few quick ones, and honestly speaking, they are just repeating what the other reviewers have said, so I recommend you to watch those videos instead. And one thing is for sure though, these two phones do not need any sort of big camera name, brand names slapped on the back of the phone to take good pictures after all. And then now comes to the video side of things. Now, both of these phones can take videos of up to 4K 60fps, but the Mi 11 Ultra did get a slight downgrade, I would say, because if you compare back with the Mi 10T Pro from late last year with an even older chip, it can shoot 8K 30fps. But for some reason, Mi 11 Ultra Xiaomi decided to lock it down to only 8K at 24 FPS, which is actually the same as the Galaxy S21 Ultra as well. So for the video side of things, we also did a quick comparison between both of these phones recording at 4K 60 FPS. Both of them have pretty good stabilization overall, but I think in terms of brightly lit video situations, the Mi 11 Ultra does look a bit better. Now as for the selfie video capabilities, if you want to do vlogging though, I would recommend you to get the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra because number one, the Mi 11 Ultra can only shoot at 1080p 60fps for its selfie camera, and it doesn't have autofocus as well. So clarity wise, I would definitely go for the S21 Ultra. And here's a sample comparing both of them together. So let's test out the vlogging capabilities of both of these phones. So firstly, I have with me here is the Mi 11 Ultra. The screen just got dimmer, don't know why. And then we also have the Galaxy S21 Ultra with us right here. So immediately I realized that the Galaxy S21 Ultra has 4K 60fps for its front-facing selfie camera, and the Mi 11 Ultra only has 1080p 60fps. I don't know why, but this is what we have. And also the Mi 11 Ultra has an option to select it to use frontal audio. Not too sure what that does, but I'm gonna enable it anyway because it sounds like it's gonna use microphone from the selfie camera. More like, don't know how to explain it, but front-facing microphone, yes. And then for the S21 Ultra, I don't see an option for that, so maybe it's automatically doing that for me, I don't know. And yeah, that's the selfie camera test. Do let us know how it actually looks down at the comment section below, and we'll see you there. From that quick test, we can see that even the microphone on the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is a lot better compared to the Mi 11 Ultra, even though I was wearing a mask at the time and my voice technically is muffled, but somehow this phone picked it up a lot better. Now, what about the screen though? Okay, so the Mi 11 Ultra here is using the exact same screen as the Mi 11, which we have reviewed not too long ago. Check it out at the top right corner there. It is the same 6.81-inch AMOLED screen with the same 120Hz, and it can also go up to 1440p at that refresh rate as well. Now, the Mi 11 Ultra, I did realize that it also has the dimming issue, which is exactly the same as the Poco F3, whereby the screen will just suddenly go dim despite what brightness settings you have. This happens when the phone gets too hot, and that happened while I was recording the selfie video that you just watched not too long ago, which is why I made the remark the screen got dimmer. Firstly, I have with me here is the Mi 11 Ultra. The screen just got dimmer, don't know why. And when the screen dimming happened, the video's exposure also flickered for a moment, so that is something that is definitely happening, and I have also verified it with other reviewers as well. And they were also saying screen dimming is indeed happening on their units. And let's not forget about this tiny little display at the back here. And by tiny, I really mean it because there are just way too many unused space here, and the bezels around this tiny little display is way too huge. We can use it to take pictures, yes, but not for videos. But it does work as an auxiliary display if you just want to see the battery, time, and if there's any notification on the phone itself. In terms of use case wise, I would say it's there, but too much potential is just untapped. While on that subject, I think we should also talk about the design of this phone. As you can see here, the Mi 11 Ultra is indeed a very thick phone with an even thicker camera bump to the point where I can dangle it on anything. But generally though, I'm pretty fine with this kind of camera bump size because you can't just bend physics around, because if you want a camera with a large sensor size, you will definitely need that Z-axis for the lens to, you know, take some pretty good looking images. If not, then everything will be just blur. And one thing I want to highlight here is that the Mi 11 Ultra is definitely a fingerprint magnet. Xiaomi, you should have went with a matte finish that will look a lot better compared to this really glossy finish, and you can see how dirty it is right now. And of course, we need to talk about the performance of this phone as well. It is equipped with the Snapdragon 888 chipset with 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage, and it still heats up badly to the point where, of course, the screen dimming issue happens. It performs also identically with the Mi 11, which we have reviewed earlier, so you can check out the gaming video on the Xiaomi Mi 11 instead. And to juice up everything, this phone comes with a 5000 mAh battery, And unfortunately though, the battery life of the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra is pretty bad. At 120Hz, it only lasts for about 9 point something hours in our battery life test, so you definitely need to be thrifty to make sure the battery can last you throughout one single day. But fortunately though, this phone comes with a 67-watt charger, proprietary of course, included inside the box. It takes about an hour to charge it from 15 to 100%, but if you have a 120-watt charger that is compatible with Xiaomi's proprietary standard, then you can charge this phone from 15 to 100% in just 35 minutes. And now comes the fun part. We need to talk about the software. I mean, the MIUI 12 is still a mess, and we have talked about it in depth in our Mi 11 review as well, so check it out at the top right there again. In addition to the mess that were mentioned in that video, here is a few new ones, because the rear display here, well, I first thought to configure the rear display, I will have to go into the settings menu, head into the display menu, and then it should have the rear display setting there, right? But no, scrolling all the way to the bottom of the display menu, there's no recommendation inside the display menu to hop into the settings page for the rear display. So ended up, what I did was just to search it in the settings menu and search it for rear display, and then the rear display menu came out. Eventually, I discovered that the rear display setting menu is actually nested under special features, which just doesn't make much sense. But I discovered something even more problematic. MIUI 12 is even messier than I thought. Now, recently I wanted to do some screen recording on the Mi 11 Ultra to show you what's up, but that's where the issue came in, because this app has a total of 3 resolutions to choose from. The first one is depending on what your phone's resolution is. So for example, if I switch it to 1080p or 1440p, then the first setting will switch according to that instead. There's no 1080p option if you're using 1440p, but that's a tiny issue on its own. But look at the frame rate. For some reason, the Mi 11 Ultra only has 30 FPS maximum no matter what resolution or bitrate that I'm using. I don't understand why this is, because I took out some other Xiaomi phones that I have lying around. This is the Mi 9, and then this is also the Mi 10T Pro. Both of them are also running MIUI 12, but for some reason, those two phones are able to be recording at 60 FPS at 1080p, but the Mi 11 Ultra can't? What? And we also have to point out a few miscellaneous stuff as well about the Mi 11 Ultra. Firstly, it has an IR blaster up top, which I really like, but at the bottom here, the USB Type-C port is still a USB 2.0, so transferring your videos or pictures will take forever. And it doesn't have HDMI output over Type-C, which means no desktop mode or even just screen mirroring over the USB port. And if you're comparing with the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra again, both of these phones do not have microSD card and also no audio jack as well. So finally, for the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. At the price of 4,299 ringgit, I think Xiaomi is asking a little bit too much for what it has to offer. The Mi 11 Ultra has a lot of fantastic hardware, but for the software part of things, especially in terms of integrating it with other systems, it makes this phone a very difficult phone to recommend to anyone to buy. Take the Galaxy S21 Ultra for example. On top of just having a fantastic UI, on top of its timely UI updates, it also has Samsung Pay, Edge Panel, Samsung DeX, a lot of integration with Microsoft, all of those stuff, and also this one, S Pen support. Even though it's a separate purchase, it's still a very useful accessory if you want to use it. And in many ways, the Mi 11 Ultra is feeling a lot like a first generation type of phone, because yeah, this phone has a lot of potential, but it ultimately fell short because it really reminded me of the Galaxy S20 Ultra instead. Has a lot of issues, but right now, I think it's up to Xiaomi to take in all of the feedback to improve on its future generation of the Ultra lineup of smartphones. But at the end of the day, I'm still glad that Xiaomi is entering the premium market, because currently at the highest end of smartphones, you only have Apple and Samsung, which is getting kind of boring. So yeah, that's all we have to share with you about the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra, and we'll see you guys in the next video.